Welcome to Baptist Press This Week. I'm Brandon Porter. David Dockery is the new president of the Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. He's a familiar name in Christian education. Among his accomplishments is his longtime leadership of Union University in Jackson, Tennessee. He helped guide them through a campus rebuild following a tornado outbreak some years back. He's facing a stormy season in Fort Worth as the seminary is facing a number of challenges. Still, he's optimistic as the fall semester begins.
We're very excited as we begin the fall semester of 2023 on the Southwestern campus, building on the momentum from this past year. We were blessed to see an overall enrollment increase in the 22-23 year. Our total annual head count was 3574, which was up 171 students, more than 5% over the previous year. Our FTE numbers were strong, as well as our credit hour numbers. We had a wonderful year in terms of unrestricted giving. The Lord used our friends and churches and alums from across the country to step up at a time of need in Southwestern's life to help us. And so we enter this year in a better place than where we were last fall. We're very encouraged by the fall enrollment numbers that we have received so far. We won't have final numbers for another week or so, but at this point, we're very encouraged not only by the numbers, but the quality of students and the retention rate. The retention rate's the highest it's been in over 5 years. So that is a great encouragement to faculty, staff, and to all of us. So we're very hopeful as the fall semester begins.
Dockery believes God has been preparing him to lead the seminary.
My experience here as a student is very important. I had a great experience as a Southwestern student here 40 plus years ago. Seems hard to imagine, but I fell in love with this institution at that time. And that makes a difference. It is out of that love of the Southwestern heritage and its benefits to me that I want to give back to this institution. This fall begins my 40th year in some form of Christian higher education as faculty member or administrator. And so hopefully I've learned some things along the way, things that hopefully can be helpful for Southwestern. I know some mistakes I've made in the past. We won't repeat those, and so Southwestern will avoid those kind of things. So hopefully we'll be able to draw upon that experience to make a difference.
He also believes the challenges the seminary is facing are significant.
Yeah, there are several. There's a long-standing financial issues that are systemic in the institution. There's a sense of instability because of the turnover that has happened, not only at the presidential level, but among other administrators and faculty as well. So we need a sense of stability going forward. So those have created a culture that lacks sense of coherence, cohesion, and trust. We're working hard to rebuild that culture. We've introduced 6 new core values that the campus has embraced. The community has recognized that these are things that define who we are and can help us relate better to one another. So these 6 new core values are that we will be grace-filled and Christ-centered, defining the Southwestern identity, that we'll be scripturally grounded and confessionally guided, which talks about our foundations, our convictions, our beliefs, and that we'll be student-focused and globally engaged. That's what we do and the outcome of our work. And we think those things can help address the cultural issues. So we have financial issues, cultural issues. We have accreditation issues that we're working on. And there are some residual effects of some legal issues from the past that we're still trying to address. So it's a variety of things. And if any institution had one of those, it would be a challenge. We have them all, and we are by God's grace, trying to address each one as faithfully and openly and transparently as we can.
We asked him to help Southern Baptist understand the seminary's financial challenges.
Yeah, well, it's the financial challenges are complex, and just reporting numbers sometimes is hard to get a real picture of what is there. We have restricted gifts sometimes that offset operational deficits. We have gains in our investments that help to offset some of those. And so when that happens, sometimes you don't see the operational deficits. So we're trying to be stewards of both the beneficiary side of those restricted and designated gifts, as well as the earnings that come from the investments, and try to balance the budget operationally, to recognize that we can't outspend the income, and that will require years of ongoing monitoring of the budget, because we have inherited a budget that frankly is not in alignment. And I think that's been the case for a while, and they've been offset by some of these other things, but I don't think we can depend on that going forward. Southwestern is blessed, and we should not ignore the fact that over the years in the past, faithful donors have invested in this place by giving endowment gifts. We have an endowment of over $150 million, which is very significant for Theological Seminary, and that yields significant income for the life and work of the institution annually. But we want to help to grow that endowment and not just live out of it or live from it. And I think finding that balance and moving toward a greater understanding of how expenses and revenue work together will be important for us. So some of this is just informational, it's educational, both for our campus as well as for our board, and then how we communicate that to our constituencies will be important. But reading a nonprofit audit or balance sheet requires some education, because it's different than a for-profit balance sheet. And so sometimes people see it and it's so complex it doesn't make any sense. But we're working very hard to try to, that's a part of institutional stewardship, is to provide that kind of information and education along the way.
The seminary's accrediting agency gave Southwestern a warning late last year. He says they're taking the warning very seriously.
At the end of 2022, we received an initial notice from our regional accreditors, the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, which accredits public and private institutions from Virginia to Texas, small schools, large schools, all kinds of institutions. And we take that accreditation seriously. It's important for our graduates to be able to go on and do graduate work at other places. It's important for some of them as they seek to live out their calling in settings other than local churches. People want a regionally accredited degree for them to serve in those kind of contexts. So it is important for us. It's not just window dressing. It's an important part of an educational institution. And we have been accredited by SACS since the 1960s at Southwestern Seminary. And so we want to continue in good standing with them. But they notified us of their concerns and asked us to file a report to address some of those concerns last February, with the understanding that they would evaluate those in June. Once we saw their concerns, we knew there would be some issues that we would have to address. So when the warnings came on June the 15th, they frankly were not a surprise. We knew that they would have to address those things. So they addressed three matters, and one was financial resources, to make sure that we have the revenue to cover all the academic and student programs that we offer. Two, financial responsibility, which has been a challenge over the past few years as there has been excessive spending, sometimes not on primary educational programs, and that's what they want to see changed. And then thirdly, to make sure the board is informed and acting wisely as good fiduciaries of the institution, making sure that they are acting with all the information that they can, and we're going to do our best to make sure that that happens. We have 24 months to respond, so we'll provide a report for them in April of 2024. They'll give us some feedback in June. We'll provide another report for them in April of 2025. So we have 24 months. It's not anything we have to fix today, but we are working on it today. It's important for you, for all of those listening, to know that we are taking the warnings very, very seriously. We recognize the seriousness of this, and over the next 24 months, we have a plan in place to try to address them. It's also very important for everyone to understand, particularly our students to understand, this is not probation. It is exactly what it is. It's a warning. It says, Southwestern, get your act together, and we're going to do our best to get our act together. There's a very important difference between a warning and a probation or other more serious kinds of matters they could have addressed. And so our accreditation is not affected. Our students will still graduate with accredited degrees, but we're going to do all we can and work as hard as we can over the next 24 months. It's not going to be easy because, as I said, we're addressing issues that are long-standing and systemic, and it's not a quick fix. So it'll take all of our effort and God's help and blessings along the way for us to be in a better place by the spring of 2025.
Dockery believes investing in the school's faculty and staff and its board members is key in helping the seminary overcome its hurdles.
Well, it begins by better communication, even on campus. So we had a faculty staff meeting on August the 9th to begin the new year, bringing everyone together. Often the staff meets by itself or the faculty meets by itself, or some are not involved, but this was everyone, and we tried to give a full 1-hour update on where we are as an institution so we all know where we are. We can't know where we're going unless we know where we are, where we're starting from. And so we tried to do that, and so it begins internally. It begins by being open with the board, making sure the board has the information that they need to make good and wise decisions. So every other week I send an update to the board, giving them information on what's happening on campus, both with qualitative and quantitative kind of information. I think we have good board members. I think they can make wise decisions if they know what the issues are. And so we're doing our best to do that and help them follow all the right processes and procedures and protocols to speak with one clear voice as a board when they come together with their fall and spring meetings. And so hopefully the giving them information in advance really will help them. I think from that we then communicate with our constituencies, churches, state conventions, and with the national convention, trying to let people know not to overburden them or overwhelm them with tons of information, but to make sure they know who we are, where we're going, what challenges we face, and with God's help, how we plan to to address some of those things.
Even in the midst of turmoil, he strongly believes God can and will lead them to a brighter future.
Southwestern Seminary is the place in which graduates are committed to the Great Commandment and the Great Commission, taking the gospel to the neighborhood, to the nations, prepared, equipped to faithfully live out their calling in their lives. The Southwestern heritage has been one in which more people have been led by the Spirit of God to serve globally and internationally than any other institution in Christian history. I think when we think of global service and giving ourselves completely to the Lordship of Jesus Christ, we'll see a transformation in this place. That's what we're praying toward. That's what we're trusting God to do. We've asked Him to once again restore His blessings and favor on Southwestern Seminary. We prayed Psalm 90:17 together daily now for 11 months, and to bless and establish the work of our hands. And with God's help and His enablement, I think Southwestern Seminary has a good future, good days ahead.
And he knows it will take the full cooperation of Southern Baptists to help them achieve their mission.
Well, we're grateful to God for the privilege to cooperate with the churches of the Southern Baptist Convention. We have done so faithfully since 1925, since the Memphis Convention. And as you know, L.R. Scarborough's work on the $75 million campaign years before that helped to shape what eventually became the cooperative program. And Southwestern has been a great beneficiary financially of the cooperative program, of the gifts that have come through that work from the churches. We don't take that for granted at all. So we often thank God for cooperative program, for the churches, for the gifts that come. Our responsibility is to be good stewards of that. We've talked a great deal since September of last year about the priority of institutional stewardship, not just budget management, but institutional stewardship, which is a larger category and frames it from a Christian standpoint so that we understand and think about theological faithfulness, not only in our doctrinal convictions, but in our relationships with our friends and partners, and particularly with the churches who are so important to the life and work of Southwestern Seminary.
Thanks for joining us for Baptist Press this week. Find more articles and resources at baptistpress.com. While you're there, make sure to sign up for our daily and weekly emails.